10,000 hectares of land projected for sugarcane production in Nigeria.
In order to substitute the importation of 1.7 million metric tons annually, Nigeria needs to develop 250,000 hectares of land.
Nigeria's total public debt put at 39.5 trillion naira.
As debt stock is growing, debt service will grow. So the challenge is, has revenue been growing?
And House of Representatives to amend the Immigration Governing Board.
To provide for policy direction to the core and services and appoint, promote, and exercise disciplinary control.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall focus on the forthcoming All Progressives Congress National Convention.
All right, all things being equal, as they say, ceteris paribus, the Mai Malabuni-led Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee will pilot the long-awaited All Progressives Congress APC National Convention, which is expected to happen Saturday, March the 26th, here in Abuja.
Now, Claire, at least that is the indication emanating from the letter of President Muhammadu Buhari to the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, that's Abubakar Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi State, directing a reversal to the status quo, and part of the letter reads that the party has demonstrated its inability to proceed with the issue of effecting change in the leadership of its Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee in a way that is inclusive, legal, and respectful of the time limit set and required for giving the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, sufficient notice of the time and venue for holding its convention.
The issue also, Kingsley, of returning to status quo ante is captured in paragraph 6A of the President's letter. Meanwhile, paragraph 6C of the same letter directs that the Mai Malabuni-led Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee should accordingly be allowed to proceed with all necessary preparations to hold the convention as planned unfailingly on 26th of March 2022.
Well, Claire, an important aspect of the letter, which must also be pointed out, is the directive given to members of the Governors Forum and their followers to desist forthwith from any behavior or utterances that would likely lead to disunity in the ranks of the party and or could, of course, jeopardize the processes leading to the convention. Okay,
now let's also remind you that the convention has been shifted a couple of times. Of course, from February 26th till March 26th. Now, the date was finally agreed on, not quite recently, I meant to say. Now, the convention has also been trailed, with a lot of controversy, intrigues. First, it was the zoning. Okay, beginning with the congresses at the ward and state level, then the zoning arrangement, especially for the national chairmanship of the party, which was eventually zoned to the North Central, and that is still being contested by other aspirants. Now, the National Executive Committee NEC meeting, which is also supposed to precede the National Convention, could not also hold on Thursday, as INEC failed to recognize any other leadership other than the Mai Malabuni-led Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee.
Well, the Buni Caretaker Committee is back on the saddle, and Governor Mai Malabuni, who was out of the country, has issued a statement, and that statement says that all activities initiated in his absence and executed by the acting chair of the Caretaker Committee, that was the governor of Niger State, that, excuse me, Abubakar Sani Bello, that all such actions are effective and remain valid and binding.
So a lot of back and forth, Kingsley, you would say, has been going on, but there are also indications that a crisis of confidence in the Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee is far from being over. But there are many questions to ask. Will the convention hold? And if it does, will it be successful, rancor-free? Will it be free, fair, and credible? Kingsley.
All right, another pertinent question is, when will the zonal congresses be held? There were earlier reports that the zonal congresses will also take place on the same day as the national convention. There are a number of issues as we consider the forthcoming national convention of the APC as it emerges from obviously what was a palace coup to oust Buni as the chair of the caretaker committee. No question about that.
No question
there
about
were all
that.
kinds
But
of
one
comments.
question is,
yes.
who gave the directive? Because what we heard was a directive was given, from top. So who gave the directive?
Well, those are the things that our guests, some of whom are insiders, will have the opportunity of addressing in our conversation segment on Good Morning Nigeria today, on which note would like to welcome you to the program. It's another hazy morning here. This is mid-March, and the dust haze hasn't lifted. My name is Kingsley Osadolo. Good morning.
And I'm Claire Adelabu Abdul Razak. Well, it's not as hot as it used to be, so I'm sure some of us are quite happy with, the weather, Kingsley.
That's right, no question about that. It's,
all right, so wherever you're watching from, it's always a pleasure to have you join us. If you're watching from within Nigeria, outside Nigeria, thank you. The complimentary segments will come at the appropriate time. For now, Elizabeth Omoroye is taking our morning news highlights, and she's seated beaming with smiles. Elizabeth, good morning.
Good morning, Kingsley and Claire, and here is the morning news. $120 million has been estimated as development cost for the entire value chain of sugarcane production, projected to be cultivated on 10,000 hectares of land in Nigeria. Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment Adeniyi Adebayo revealed this at the weekly briefing from the State House.
Our annual demand for sugar for industrial and domestic use is 1.75 million metric ton. We have attained self-sufficiency in refining raw sugar with an installed capacity of 3 million metric ton, but still have to import about 1.7 million ton of raw sugar to feed the refineries.
It went from sugar production in a renewed vigor to promote the health of Nigerians and make health care services much available. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has inaugurated the Lancet Nigeria Commission to drive investments in the health sector. Recommendations were made by the commission aimed at improving health care services.
And we believe that the health of Nigerians does matter. And we've therefore focused interventions on the people living in the rural areas, women, and of course, vulnerable populations.
I want you to look at what we have in place as our health infrastructure today and see how to transform and revolutionize that health infrastructure.
The Debt Management Office has pegged Nigeria's total public debt as at December 31, 2021 at 39.556 trillion naira, representing external and domestic debts of the federal government, the 36 state governments, as well as the Federal Capital Territory. Director General of DMO, Patience Onya, while presenting the numbers, attributed the rising debt level to market fundamentals that include rising exchange rates and increasing capital budget for infrastructure.
It's growing because we have a huge infrastructure deficit, which we need to fix in order to create jobs and attract the private sector so that GDP can grow.
An out-of-field update, the federal government is threatening to sanction depot owners' courts, increasing ex-depot prices. Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Timothy Silva, who gave the warning, says some depot owners increasing ex-depot prices will be dealt with decisively.
Rise to that level, it also affects the derivatives of crude oil. So prices of diesel also went up, and we are very aware that Nigerians are suffering these high diesel prices like everywhere else in the world.
And in other news, the House of Representatives has passed for second reading a bill seeking to repeal the Nigeria Immigration and Prisons Board Act to enable its replacement by the Civil Defense Corps, Correctional Federal Fire Service and Immigration Services Act. The bill passed second reading yesterday.
To provide for policy direction to the Corps and services and appoint, promote and exercise disciplinary control.
The chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, Governor Maimala Bonu, re-emphasized that the March 26th National Convention of the party is sacrosanct. At the end of a closed-door strategic meeting by members of the Caretaker Committee, Governor Bonu said APC National Convention arrangements are executed by his counterpart, Governor Abubakar Sani Bello.
Since when I travel, the party has not stopped, and His Excellency has done very well in managing the affairs of the party. So we are here to discuss certain issues going forward. We are now at the finishing line. Of course, the convention is at hand, just 26th of March. So we are putting heads together to ensure that we achieve the speed of accomplishment.
I can tell you for free that we're good to go for convention.
And that's the morning news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kingsley and Claire after this time out. Just stay with us.
The Nigerian aviation sector is rapidly growing with the construction of new international airport terminals in several regions of the country. The new Murtala Mohammed International Airport has an estimated passenger increase of 30 million annually and 15 million for Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Malam Aminu Kano International Airport is also expected to open new frontiers for the region with more travel capacity for the annual Hajj, while the new Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, avails more business opportunities connecting the industrial cities in the region to the world. These new terminals beat world-class standards with enabling infrastructure that aid air travel, tourism, and the eventual growth of the country's GDP.
Open up commerce and, of course, link us to international societies.
People from international community will come here to do business, and then that will bring in more revenue to the state.
Now, distances can be seamlessly covered as Nigeria keeps raising its bar to suit global infrastructure standards.
Calm down. If the farm says sabi, you want to grow 6 packs in a day. I beg you not to pass your power. You want to show yourself,
Whatever your size, find it with the new Airtel data plans. Dial *141# now to get the plan that suits you.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Thank you for the rejections that taught me to keep striving. Thank you for the long hours that taught me discipline. Thank you for the knockdowns that taught me to bounce back, and for the unexpected victories that taught me to never give up. Thank you for making me who I am.
See, nurse, she's saying she feels unwell, despite my efforts to practice good hygiene.
Mom says wash your hands to keep the germs away.
Washing hands is good, but surfaces can also have germs, and you shouldn't use just anything for cleaning them. Use Jik. Jik's formula has been scientifically proven to stay active for longer, giving you whitening and germ kill protection on a variety of surfaces. Disinfect to protect, just Jik it. Endorsed by National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives.
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children. Protect them from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA. Candidates who are interested in gaining admission into NTA Television College Jos for the 2021-2022 two-year National Innovation Diploma Program are to apply for admission through the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board (JAM). The courses available for application include film and television production, broadcast journalism, and television engineering technology. Such candidates must have a minimum of 5 O-level credits in relevant subjects including English language and mathematics. For more information, please contact NTA Television College, Jos, or the marketing department of any NTA station nationwide. Registrar, Announcer.
The Gunners continue their push for Champions League action as they face a tricky tie at Villa Park. This Saturday is Aston Villa versus Arsenal on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 1 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu, empowered by Integral.
All right, welcome back. It's Friday's edition of Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service. And if you want to be part of our conversation much later on, don't forget to join us via Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @NTAGMN. Coming up next is business news with Alika Okbanache Arwa.
The international leather market is worth about $400 billion, and Nigeria got about $900 million of the amount in 2019. There are now renewed efforts to improve the revenue from the sale of leather and leather products in the country. This explains why Director General of the Nigerian Institute of Leather Science and Technology, Professor Mohammed Yakubu, is appealing to relevant authorities to enforce a total ban on export of leather to avoid shortchanging Nigeria. He explains that whatever is produced in the country in terms of hides and skin is converted into leather products, which ultimately become export products and lead to job creation and foreign exchange. Yakubu projects that going by the National Leather and Leather Product Policy, Nigeria wants to be able to earn about $1 billion from the sale of leather and its products by the year 2025. And taking a look at Thursday tradings on the floor of the exchange. With business news, Alika Okbanache Arwa.
Thank you very much, Alika, for the business package. Coming up next for us now is Newspaper Review.
It's time to welcome our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoyebe, who is already here, and I love to see Bayo on Fridays.
Thank you, Claire. Good morning. Good morning, Kinsey.
Right, Bayo, good to see you. Yes. All right, Claire, let's kick off with the stories that you have on the front page of the...
Okay, let me start with the Punch. And the lead story today, and I'm sure it will also be the lead story on all the papers, Nigeria borrowed 6.64 trillion naira, serviced debt with 2.93 trillion naira in 2021, says DMO. And that story is on page 21. It comes with two riders. Experts don't warn federal government as public debt stock hits 39.56 trillion naira. Now, economists warn of repayment problems and hard times ahead. That's the lead story from The Punch. The picture stories, you see they are suspected robbers, kidnappers, gun runners, and of course others are being paraded by the acting force public relations officer Muyiwa Dejobi yesterday in Abuja. Now, reps intervene as crisis threatens FCTA hospital concessionaires agreement. Details of that on page 21. Adamawa chemist injected man to death and steals motorcycle. It's on page 4. And northern businessmen buy 40 million naira PDP presidential form for Atiku. Page 8. EFCC picks up US-bound ex-governor Obiano at Lagos Airport. Page 8. And policeman, scores of bandits killed as troops Niger gunmen clash. Details of that on page 8. A bit above the nameplates now. Soludo sworn in as Anambra governor retains Obiano's SSG. Now, two riders to that story. Ex-governor Obiano's wife, Ojuku's widow, exchanged blows at inauguration. A new governor makes 3 appointments, apologizes for stadium fight. Details of that on page 2. APC in race to hold March 26 convention, battles injunction. Now, will not sack subcommittees inaugurated by Bello, says caretaker chair, and 6 chairmanship aspirants pay 120 million naira for APC forms. Sale closes today. This is that on page 2. Kingsley, let me quickly take just 1 or 2 stories from Blueprint.
That's right.
Yes, and the Blueprint is, has quite a number of stories. Troops kill 100 terrorists in Niger, recover 50 motorcycles. It's there on the front page. And we also have, as first step towards APC reconciliation, Buni meets Bello, ratifies decisions taken as acting CECPC chair. Details of that on page 6. And 10 committee sack Akman Udoedehe as scribe. Only NEC can remove him. Nabena, he's going nowhere. Groups. Court begins hearing on convention today. All this, of course, have to do with the APC convention. Now, drama as Obiano's wife, Bianca, fight dirty at Soludo's inauguration. Accept my apologies, new governor begs Indian Anambra and Nigerians. Cities of that on page 8. Banks, others must report transactions above 5 million naira. That's Senate. And last one here, again, stop patronizing unlicensed finance houses, CBN warns. Kingsley.
Okay, we'll take a look at the front page of the Nation newspaper. Above the name flag, you have the following headlines. Atiku picks PDP form, Tambuwal digs in. INEC gets 9 orders and motions on Umahi's sack. Agency to act next week. That's right. EFCC arrests ex-governor Obiano at Lagos Airport. Bandits kidnap 48 in Kaduna community attack. Below the name flag, Kingsley Moghalu joins presidential race again. Hyperdeck to hire 10,000. Federal government determined to deepen local content. Jonathan and Silva at lubricant plants groundbreaking. Lead story, Boni Dowsey's tension rallies APC governors for convention. The 2 riders there are similar to what Claire earlier read. Nigeria raises $1.25 billion through Euro bonds. Federal government and states debts now 39.5 trillion naira. Soludo begs after Bianca and Obiano's wife's brawl at inauguration. Governor hits the ground running with appointments and meetings. Russia-Ukraine war. AFDB, that's African Development Bank, plans $1 billion wheat production boost. Bayo.
Thank you, Kingsley. Well, the biggest news is that Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo was sworn in yesterday as Anambra State Governor. The Chief Judge of the state, Onoche Anyache Bello administered the oath of allegiance and the oath of office on Deputy Governor Dr. Onyeka Ibezim and Professor Charles Chukuma Soludo. In his inaugural address, he made a passionate plea and promise, I will give it all, my all, work hard every day with you to make Anambra proud. Every day there is a seat at home, the poor masses who power the economy, artisans, cart pushers, and petty traders lose an estimated 19.6 million in Anambra alone. Businesses are relocating from Igbo land, and unemployment is growing. Traders have stopped coming to Onitsha and Aba. The governor lamented that youths dying in senseless circumstances when criminal gangs claim to be freedom fighters, said criminality cannot be sugar-coated, and therefore this must stop. He also made a session about government's determination to urgently restore peace and security in Anambra, and he identified the sources. He says, to IPOD, Eastern Security Network, MASOP, and others desperate arms, to politicians playing politics with insecurity, and the elite who also are in the closest of silence. He said, let all get around the table to talk, securing Igbo land and Nigeria in collective responsibility. He made 3 immediate appointments, retaining the Secretary to the State Government and appointing the Accountant General as well as Deputy Chief of Staff. He says the list of his commissioners will be sent to the State House of Assembly next week. However, Governor Soludo apologized for the distraction at the inauguration occasioned by a fracas between Mrs. Ebele Chukwu Obiano and Mrs. Bianca Ojukwu. Meanwhile, the Economic and Financial Crime have arrested former Governor Willie Obiano at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport. The arrest took effect 8:30 p.m. while the former governor was about to proceed on a flight to Houston. The Economic and Financial Crime, which confirmed the arrest, says they have for long requested the immigration services to monitor the movement of the erstwhile governor of Anambra State. The anti-graft agency announced last year that Mr. Willie Obiano was under their watch. Well, there are other developments about Nigeria's borrowing.
Yeah, but before we get into the issue of borrowing, let's say a few things about Charles Soludo's inauguration yesterday as the executive governor of Anambra State. Congratulations to him. I had mentioned this much earlier on Good Morning Nigeria when he won the election. Just to restate it, Charles Soludo is the second former governor of the central bank to have become the governor of a state. The first was Clement Isong of the old
Cross River,
of the old Cross River State, and then Charles Soludo is also the second former alumni of the University of Nigeria class of '84 to have become governor of the same state. The first alumnus to have so become a governor is Peter Obi. Peter Obi passed out in 1984, studied philosophy. Charles Soludo studied economics, and of course he did this first degree, second degree, and PhD all at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Of course, there are other members of the class of '84, including the incumbent governor of the central bank and the former deputy governor, that's Tunde Lemo. But the story about the fracas that occurred, I mean, there are all kinds of sensational reports around it, but certainly it was disgraceful because that was a high point state event. If you recall, when Soludo first indicated that it was going to be a small size ceremony, we did say, yeah, that was fine in your thinking, but that an inauguration ceremony is not a family affair.
No, it's a state function.
It's a state function. So there was some elaboration on the number of invited guests and what, of course, needed to be done. And unfortunately, the incident between the former governor's wife, that's Obiano's wife, and Bianca Ojukwu took place. Now, Bianca Ojukwu is the daughter of a former governor of the old Anambra State, that is CCONO, and of course Ojukwu, everybody knows him, and so on and so forth. But my concern with that incident is as follows. who is the Commissioner of Police in Anambra State? And why is it that both Bianca and Obiano's wife have not been arrested, their statements taken in, and then get them prosecuted for AFRE? Because fighting in a public place is an offense. You can say personal squabbles, XYZ, but this was in the full glare of all the cameras. And there was one of the videos that showed somebody asking the cameras to shut down. They're trying to obstruct justice, because that would give electronic evidence for the prosecution. Why is it that? Because when you say nobody's above the law, this is one such instance. These persons fought in the public square. And fighting, yes, it wasn't the occasion.
Public AFRE.
AFRE, it was simple AFRE, fight in the public place. So why is it that the Commissioner of Police in Anambra has not taken them in and then get them prosecuted speedily?
Right.
I really don't know what to say. I was dumbfounded and taken aback. One, it draws back, you know, the clamor, you know, for more women recognition, because a lot of people, it has been a point of reference now, you know, as well. Okay, this is the women, you know, you're clamoring for. So for me, it's a sad development.
It was a bad exhibition,
yes,
for women.
For womenhood, yes.
Noted. Well, the Debt Management Office has given a background about Nigeria's debt, and it says that at a media briefing yesterday, the Director General of Debt Management Office, Patient Oniha, says that Nigeria's total public debt increased from 39.56 trillion in 2021 to 32.92 trillion in 2020. The total public debt is now an equivalent of $95.78 billion. In Naira times, it is now 39.56 trillion Naira. This total debt comprises the debt of the federal government, 36 states of the federation, and the federal capital territory. However, DG Oniha also nevertheless says Nigeria is still within the total public debt stock to gross domestic product limit of 55%. That is the limit set by the World Bank. Presently, Nigeria's debt stock is at 22.47%, and he says it's within the World Bank limit of 55%. Even the ECOWAS limit is about 70%. However, he says government is also concerned and therefore established measures to increase revenue since 2019 with the Finance Act of 2019. The incidents of criminality.
What are we borrowing for now?
Well,
no, I'm just asking rhetorical questions.
Yes.
You may wish to take any one or 12. What are we borrowing for now? Yeah, we keep talking about our debt to GDP ratio. What is our capacity for repayment? We are taking Euro bonds. And then we also have repayment obligations. How do these debts affect our foreign reserves? And how do those foreign reserves also impact on the value of our naira? And how does that ultimately affect the rate of inflation, the cost of living in the country, as well as the standard of living? Everywhere you go, you hear people say, dollar don't go up, dollar don't go up. I'm sure you hear that at all times. So what is it that we are doing? It's useful to also explain all of this. We know that states, of course, have also been borrowing to fund their projects and so on and so forth. But as some experts will say, it will be curious to be borrowing for recurrent expenditure.
Yes, most often than not, most nations around the world borrow for investment, specifically to enhance infrastructure. But when you borrow for consumption, that is where it becomes a problem. And the DG Oniha actually specifically mentioned that the borrowings were used to finance budget deficit, capital projects, as well as support economic recovery. And talking about the consequences, in fact, Professor Akpan Ekpo of the University of Uyo has already made comments, and he says specifically that Nigeria revenue depends largely on oil, and with the current fluctuation in the oil revenue, it is becoming an additional burden, and therefore GDP does not pay debt. Rather, it is revenue that pays debt. And when we don't have revenue, then it points to a fact that we have a problem. But the world over, the largest debtor for around the world borrowing is the United States.
Well, that's right, but you also have to check that's a white card, not a yellow card.
Which means you can continue.
Yeah, that's right. But I just to underscore the point, we have to have a conversation around this and know what the limits are, so that going forward, the future is not mortgaged.
Yes.
That's one point. I think it's also very heartwarming because we have raised it here on Good Morning Nigeria conversations. So it's a full top day devoted to that, as well as in our newspaper review about the consequences of the Russia-Ukraine war with imports, for instance. And now the African Development Bank is saying that it's proposing $1 billion for Africa to boost wheat production. How does Nigeria get into it? That's a very critical point.
All right, Kingsley, thank you for raising those very critical points for us. Bayo. To have a good weekend.
You too.
And we'll see you. All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria. Sit back, our conversation will begin in just a moment. And of course, it's on the APC convention and its many intrigues. Again, you can join us via our Twitter handle at NTA GMN. We'll be right back in a moment.
Sharing brings with the Airtel Family Plan. Get bonus talk time, SMS and data for each family member you share with. Dial *141# now. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Thank you for the rejections that taught me to keep striving. Thank you for the long hours that taught me discipline. Thank you for the knockdowns that taught me to bounce back, and for the unexpected victories that taught me to never give up. Thank you for making me who I am.
See, nurse, she's saying she feels unwell, despite my efforts to practice good hygiene.
Mom says wash your hands to keep the germs away.
Washing hands is good, but surfaces can also have germs, and you shouldn't use just anything for cleaning them. Use Jik. Jik's formula has been scientifically proven to stay active for longer, giving you whitening and germ kill protection on a variety of surfaces. Disinfect to protect, just Jik it. Endorsed by National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives.
Contemporary times require practical skills to remain competitive and relevant in your organization. Therefore, take advantage of NTA TV College Short Proficiency courses to sharpen your professional skills. Administrative Principles, Processes and Practices. Date 14th March to 8th April 2022. 4 weeks. Modern Trends in Broadcast Media Marketing. Date 14th March to 8th April 2022. 4 weeks. Basic Broadcast Accounting and Auditing. Date 4th April to 15th April 2022. 2 weeks. Audio Engineering Operations and Maintenance. Date 18th April to 29th April 2022. 2 weeks. The course fee for the 4-week course is 180,000 naira and the course fee for the 2-week course is 150,000 naira only. Accommodation inclusive. The venue for all courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA TV College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more enquiries, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos. Training you to be the best you want to be.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who's a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during, and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
The Gunners continue their push for Champions League action as they face a tricky tie at Villa Park. This Saturday is Aston Villa versus Arsenal on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 1 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu, empowered by Integral.
You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria. We're live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, as a prompt for our conversation, which was on the forthcoming APC National Convention, let's listen to this background report put together by our correspondent Joseph Otsen.
26th of March 2022 is the D-Day for the National Convention of the All Progressives Congress, APC, bid to hold at the Eagle Square in Abuja. The Nigerian's ruling political party has already put in place mechanisms to ensure success of the event as it looks ahead of consolidating its leadership position in the upcoming general elections in 2023. The Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee has inaugurated chairmen and secretaries for its 20 sub-convention committees for division of labor and smooth preparation, while candidates vying for seats of chairman of the party are also rallying support across the country. But before the current date, issues surrounding leadership of the party, zoning of the chairmanship seat, and when the convention would take place dominated the airwaves, creating uncertainty. On the zoning arrangement, APC zoned the national chairmanship seat to the North Central, but other aspirants can still contest. Earlier set dates could not hold ground, as there were divided lines between key actors. A forum of aspirants at a time urged the Convention Planning Committee to postpone the occasion, saying the result would spell doom for the party, as there were a lot to settle before the convention can take place. Nevertheless, the party has been able to put itself together and come up with a 26th of March date, and many party faithful are looking up to it.
We therefore advocate for the election of a leadership that will return the party to its core values.
The forum stands ready to ensure that all candidates for the positions at all levels fully align and imbibe the progressive ideals of the party as enunciated in the APC National Manifesto.
The president also wrote the Progressives Governors Forum, giving a go-ahead. But the question on the minds of many remain, are the internal wrangling within the party resolved? How far has the party gone with its preparation and ready to hold the mega event? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will be discussing these issues soon.
Welcome back. Time to begin our conversation, and I'll quickly introduce our guest in the studio. Mazi Peter Okorafo is a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress and also National Secretary, Coalition of APC Support Groups, and a public affairs analyst. Good to have you with us.
Good morning.
Kingsley, also with us is Kingsley. I think it's...
Yeah, well, we have Ahmed Sajo, is the former Commissioner for Information and Strategy at Adamawa State, and also a regular guest on Good Morning Nigeria. Sergio, pleasure to have you this morning.
Thank you very much.
We also have Aliu Audu, convener APC Rebirth Movement. Aliu, I'm delighted to have you this morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right, let's begin the conversation with Mazi Peter Okorafor. Help our viewers to understand what's been going on in the APC. There's been a lot of drama, and even the blind could see that there was indeed some crisis of leadership in the caretaker committee. One of the governors, that's the governor of Kaduna State, was quoted widely following an interview he granted to a television station that Buni had been ousted as the chairman of the caretaker committee, and that all steps and measures were being taken to reposition the party. But we have seen lately that Buni has bounced back, and a photograph that he took with the president in London, using the photo op. That photograph has also been widely publicized, and that Buni is back and he is in charge. But he says that the decisions that were taken by Governor Bello of Niger State, while Buni was away, that those decisions leading to the convention on the 26th of March remain valid. So what's been played out? We cannot say it's an internal crisis, because the APC is, as they say, the governing party.
Well, I like the word you use, drama. And drama is what everybody likes to watch for your entertainment, relaxation, recreation. The beauty of democracy is actually what you're seeing, and that makes APC the party to beat, the leading party. Things are done as it is expected in every sociological setting. People play out their mind within the ambits of the law. No thuggery, no fighting, no killing. You want something and I want something. I go for it, you say no. You come for me, I say no. Then somewhere along the line, we meet at a cross point, and I agree. And all of a sudden, you see that the storm is over. So now it's an issue for discussion, overviewing what has transpired, the drama you called it. So that is actually the ingredients of democracy. It is expected. We are not expecting in a democratic setting a totally calm, quiet, non-turbulent situation. Then it's not democracy you're practicing. In democracy, you expect an assemblage of people that are reading with different background of ideology, beliefs, ambition. And when such people gather, their expectations are interwoven. And if it's interwoven, it is not crisis. It's expected, because we come from different background of ideology, expectation, and belief. It must come at a crossroad. But if it's an institution guided by the principles of the rule of law, or that believe in rule of law like APC, it will obviously settle peacefully like the way you saw it do.
Okay.
Yeah, but are you suggesting that the drama did not create uncertainty in the minds of members of your political party across the country?
Yeah,
I mean, let's face it. I mean, you are saying that there wasn't a crisis. Is it a matter of nomenclature, or because now the dust appears to be settling, then what happened doesn't appear to matter?
No, like I told you, it's the beauty of democracy.
That's what he said.
It's expected in every sociological setting. When people gather together from different background of ideology and expectation, ambition inclusive, it cannot be unilateral. If it's unilateral, then there is no human existence. It's normal. That uncertainty in the minds of the people that was poured up and settled creates further belief in the mind of those same people in the party and the leadership of the party.
Okay, Mr. Okorafor, let's put you on hold. Before we bring in the former Commissioner of Information, let's also hear from the convener of the APC Rebirth Movement, Aliu Audu. Is the storm really over, as Mazi Peter Okorafor is saying, or are we misconstruing, misinterpreting the concept of democracy?
I mean, it's good to know that the dust are settling, but I disagree on my senior party member, we're at a time where party members and Nigerians in general are pretty concerned about the whole lot of things going on locally and internationally. There's been a lot of uncertainty in different, sector of our national life. The last you would expect is for a leading party not to show some sense of direction, some sense of, purposefulness and precision. It's quite broad. I mean, it bothers me and my generation, for instance, who think that we have been deprived so much. We think those before us who had everything easy haven't been able to, preserve that and give something for us that we can preserve and, uphold for the generations after us. We joined the political party APC because we said as a party for Greater Nigeria. That's why it was marketed. When we came in 2013, ahead of the amalgamation, under the leadership of Barrister Ismail Ahmed, and we've paid our dues. We've contributed to the party and defended the government till date. So what we expected is leaders who are in position to actually step up and show leadership when they are called on. What we saw in the past few months have been, a bunch of people who are consumed by selfishness, greed, and lack of respect for rule of law, lack of respect for Mr. President, lack of respect for his legacy, and would go to any length to jeopardize our national interest, our collective interest, just for selfish reasons. I mean, my group from September 2021 noticed it after the local government congress, and we came out and we said what was going on then was not Congress, was not the will of the people, where they were basically in position at different levels. You're a governor, you're a senator, you're a House of Rep member, and you think you have the power to decide and impose on people your personal choice. I mean, that's not democracy. Democracy is when you let people express their own choice. I mean, the freedom to choose who they want to lead them. Those were the things we saw from the ward and the local government congress. And we came out with a public conference. We did press conference, and we wrote a letter to Mr. President, the President of the Senate, the Speaker, our national leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the Vice President. And we expressed this concern. At every single time when the convention was shifted, we came out and we had a series of press releases. Everything is online. You see all of that. And we gave concern about certain people who were hell-bent on not carrying out the convention. And we gave reasons why they were doing it. It was just for selfish reasons. People who wanted to stop the convention, people who wanted to frustrate efforts to reassure Nigerians that truly, the APC is the party to reposition this country. I mean, it's pretty disappointing. I don't find it entertaining. I don't find it, pleasant to watch.
So it's not a drama.
It's an embarrassment. I have never felt even more embarrassed. I have never felt as embarrassed as this to be a part of an organization such as a big one like a ruling governing party like the APC, like I've been in the past few weeks.
All right, Aliu, thank you very much. Ahmed Sajo, let's bring you in at this time. What are your opening comments on what has been unfolding and what appears also to be a settling storm?
Okay, first and foremost, let me premise my discussion on the fact that I'm a member of the Legacy Project Group, which is constituted by Mai Mala Buni, and part of our mandate is actually to promote harmony within the party, and to a large extent we have done that. But let me also say that you do not expect a party that has about 41 million members registered on record, and for everybody in that party to have the same views about issues. It's going to be very hard. But right from the very first day this crisis started, I had calls to address 2 or 3 foreign radio stations, and I told them, I said, Mai Mala Buni is the chairman of the caretaker committee. And somebody was saying, look, there was an announcement that has been out there. I said, look, all this announcement will at the end of the day, that was on the very first day, die down. Mai Mala would still lead this party to a convention. I was also very categorical that the crisis we were facing as at that time was not a crisis about personalities per se. It was a crisis about whether the convention would hold or the convention would not hold. And at the end of the day, I posited that the convention will eventually hold, because the dangers of not holding the convention were far higher than the dangers of holding the conventions, whatever dangers there could be in holding the convention. I am an optimist, and I am also more of a Chinese, when it comes to thinking of situations like this. The Chinese have a word for crisis. They say it's Weiji. Weiji is made up of two words: danger and opportunity. We have seen the danger in the crisis. We've overcome the danger. And I'm telling you, we're going to seize the opportunity that is in it to build a far stronger party. But be that as it may, the optics out there, you can't wish it away. The optics out there in the public space was of a lot of confusion. And at a time when there is a hell lot of crisis from other issues that are unrelated with the political party, the ecosystem is charged. So any little crisis in any other part of the ecosystem could be amplified beyond its own natural, and it's normal. People queuing for fuel, with electricity grid almost having some problems, with issues of food, with the crisis in Ukraine having multiplier effect on other parts of the country, including Nigeria. People are beginning to feel hopeless. So when you say the ruling party is in crisis, it tends to be amplified. It tends to be, look, it's all part of the system. But I think now that Mai Mala is back, the legitimacy of his leadership has been asserted. The legitimacy of the leadership that he handed over to has not been vitiated. The entire dust is settling down. But I tend to agree to a large extent with my small brother over there.
Young brother.
My young brother over there, that, those of us that are elderly, that have been positioned by Almighty God to provide leadership, must always watch our backs and know that the younger generation are watching us. They didn't grow up with the privileges we had when we were growing up. So any little hiccup, it's a huge dent on their perception of what is going on. And I can understand if young people feel that, look, we are not treating them well, or that they don't understand what is going on. But I think that, like my brother Mazi said, these things are bound to happen in human existence. We always say, in our different situations, that even the tongue and the teeth that live together in the mouth, sometimes there is a disagreement between them. So we know that disagreements are even functions of democracy. Perhaps if that disagreement had not taken place, there are a lot of other facts that we all would have overlooked. But now everything is on table, and I think we will come out of it very stronger.
All right, Ahmed Sajo, thank you very much. The optimistic view that you have expressed is noted. But there are some who point to the deeper meaning of what has been happening and what therefore should happen. The convention is scheduled to take place in 8 days' time. We speak about democracy in general terms, but the view is, in some quarters, is that the slice of democracy we are dealing with here relates essentially to political party management, an issue that we have discussed on a number of occasions on Good Morning Nigeria. And the point are that it is indeed a misnomer to have a caretaker run a political party for so long a time, where we should have substantive principal officers to be running a political party that is almost analogous to what you find with local government administration, caretaker, all over the place. So that it says, look, how do you govern your political space? How do you govern your political machine? Because a political party, of course, has both private and public faces. So how does the party respond to the challenges, obviously, of still still having a caretaker committee to run its affairs? Mazi.
Well, like I said, in situ in the party political institution is that APC is a marriage of strange bedfellows. He used the word legacy. That's what they call legacy party. And then, of course, you know, these various political parties that constituted what you call APC today had different political journey along the line. And most of them came into APC with it. And that seems to be the foundation of very sharp divide in terms of futuristic expectations of what the ideal party should be and leadership should be. So, coming from your own parallel, you want a kind of leadership, you want a kind of administration. And they come to be divergent at that point. And that divergency, based on diversity of political inclination, is what you are calling caretaker, caretaker, caretaker. It's manifesting in all fora of the party or entire party organ. And we expect it, though it's not a public thing. But within the party, we know that ideologies, political ambition, political expectation, leadership models differ within the rank because of the foundational structure of APC. So one man says, this is how I want this thing to be. I cannot have two conventions before the general election. I want to have one convention. The other man said, no, you cannot do that. This man says it's cost implicative. This man said, no, we need to have it now and do another one again. The whole idea of caretaker extension is to avoid the cost, financial implication, and perhaps the political damage that may arise as a result of repeating it twice. They want to be able to manage the crisis that will fall out of that convention once. If you do it twice, you're going to manage crisis within a very short space of time before the general election, which is very close by. So it's expected and it's being managed. It's not actually an abyss. It's just an individual group within a family of groups trying to set its own model or agenda of its own expected leadership model. That's what you see.
Okay, thank you. Again, I return to Aliyu. Aliyu, I'm sure you remember some of the remarks made by Ahmed Sajo. He said that the crisis, he admits that there was a crisis within the party, but it wasn't a crisis about personalities. He said it's about crisis about holding the convention, whether or not the convention would hold. But let me take you on the issue of crisis of personality. Kingsley has just touched on the tenure, extension of the caretaker committee, and some members of the PGF have also come out to say there are alleged plans by the leadership of this committee, to stay on. So has that allegation been allayed?
Okay. First thing first is a fact that Malam Lukman, Salihu Lukman, that is the former DG Progressive Governors Forum, deserves apology from all of the APC governors, from the APC as a party itself, because we live in a society. The reason why Nigeria is where it is because over the decades, we've learned to allow the wrong things happen without anybody stepping up, either out of fear or for favor. But the result of that is what we are saying, chaos everywhere. A lot of progress has been made by this government, I must admit, in comparison to the previous, considering all of the challenges we've had locally and globally. But then again, if we do not improve on our processes, if we do not allow for varying opinions, if we do not allow, especially within the ambits of the law, if we do not allow for people to freely and willingly express their concern, especially when they are valid, then we are building up a system to fail, or we want to continue to fail. And this is where I keep saying it, you know, and I like to tell every other person, it's a generational concern. I mean, my generation, 50 years and below, currently account for about 85% of registered voters in this country. And in terms of partisan membership, we account for about 85% of APC membership. And what we are saying is we want assurance that we are heading in the right direction. We do not have all of those time to continue to have millions of Nigerians in poverty, millions of Nigerians in uncertainty. A lot have been done. A lot still needs to be done. So for a governing party like APC to deliver on our mandate, we need to improve on our processes. We need to better our previous attempts so we can do better. And the only way we can do this is to give assurance. You see, there are issues of personality, I must say, because over the years, we just pick people out of sentiments and give position. I would say without any bias that a lot of people occupy positions today that they do not deserve to come close by competence, by character, and by perception, by vision that you expect for people holding such positions. I mean, if crisis management is the reason why we will not move forward, then it means we do not intend to move forward rightly. I agree that there are always bound to be issues. Even within family, there are issues. But if every member of that entity, you know, has the same goal, we might not agree on how to do it, but we must agree on where we ought to be, where we need to be, or where we should be going. If a convention is going to hold, we know where, from June 2020, a 6-month mandate was given to my Malabuni-led committee. We had 6 months. And in the name of the committee, your purpose, your mandate is set. Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee. Meaning, plan convention and bring us a legitimate leadership and handover. You are a governor of a state. You know, you have 6 months to do this. And the first assignment you should do was to go embark on needless membership registration that does not add any value to our database compared to what we did in 2014. Nothing was automated. In the world of today, when we as a government are emphasizing on the need for national identity, what's called NIN, there was no provision for that. There was no value added to our database by the recent database. People mouth off on 41 million. I don't agree because I haven't seen any record to prove that. In this age and time, we need data. We need verifiable data to show that this is where we are and this is what we're doing. The registration didn't do that. What it did was create more problem than we met on ground. And convention was supposed to have happened by December 2020. For reasons that my senior friends have said here is selfish, not in the general interest of party members or Nigeria. It's just selfish. Certain people went to court, collect injunction to hold down stop the party from carrying convention, and this was known to Maimala and his secretary, and they kept it under wrap without letting the other members of the party know or other members of the caretaker committee know. That on itself is a reason why I think on his return from this medical trip should not be allowed near anywhere party secretariat. But in the wisdom of Mr. President, our leader whom we respect, we agree because the most important thing right now is that he has assured us that convention is going to happen. And the only thing the only concern we have is if we continue to allow people who do not do well carry on in tasks that they begin where they have failed obviously in a given task, and we give them another task, we're not giving reason for people to want to improve on given assignment. We're not giving reason for people to understand that doing bad does not come with any reward.
All right, Aliu Audu.
Yes, sir.
I would like you to clarify one or two claims that you have made.
All right, sir.
You have impugned the membership registration exercise, describing it as needless, and that it was, in your words, not an improvement on what happened in 2014.
Exactly.
I'm just wondering, well, you were not on the team that did the registration. What is wrong with a political party 7 years after initial membership drive, going on a fresh membership drive? If anybody, for instance, was 11 years old when the first membership drive occurred in 2014, by seven years later, the individual would have qualified to belong to a political party because you have the right to then vote in an election.
That's correct.
Why would you describe it as needless and then querying the data when you have apparently, if you do, let us know, have countervailing figures to the 41 million the party says it now has as its membership?
All right. I'll simply say this. It's the implication of what they've done by invalidating the existing database, and ask for revalidation by existing members. I mean, I have no problem with continued voters registration. The INEC is doing same CVR. You know, what it means is for people who were not opportune to register back then can now go ahead and register. But for me, who have done this, there is absolutely no reason to go back to do it, especially when there is no form, there is no column in that form that brings an idea, that add any information that is needed for anything whatsoever into the registration. The form I filled in 2014 February was the same form I filled when this registration was done. There was no difference. This is my concern. So I don't mind a continuous voters registration drive. That's normal.
No, that would be continuous membership
continuous membership drive. Thank you very much, sir. I don't mind that. But invalidating the existing record just for the sake of it. I mean, even a country does not carry census every 4 years, every 7 years.
But that doesn't make the initiator selfish, to use your word.
I'll tell you it does. Because like my senior brother said, that's the part I agree with him. You know, when you put personal interest over the overriding, over the interest of the general public, this is exactly what happened. They saw it as an opportunity to be able to control the record, to be able to control who. I mean, we know what happened in many states. Membership registration create crisis in Delta, in Kogi, in a lot of states where certain members who had the form hoarded it from other members and stopped them from registering. That was the beginning of bigger crisis that we had to manage throughout the Congress. So the second question about the data that you talked about, I mean, just a rough estimate. When we say we have 41 million, it means for a 36 state and the FCT, it means on the average you should have nothing less than 1 million or 750 to 1 million on the average, considering the varying population of each state. If we have that number as members, the result of election carried out in Anambra State and in a few other states showed clearly, I mean, in the general election, I mean, I don't think we would have 1 million members in Anambra, 750,000 or 500,000 in Anambra. Then on the election, they look at our primary, that purported primary, because, I mean, court has finally come out, like we said then, that there was no primary in Anambra. Court finally came to vindicate our claim. And look at the figures from the primary and look at the figure from the general election, where we have over 500,000 or thereabout from the primary election, and we could not even muster 250,000 in the general election. That's a clear indication that in a state like Anambra, where we say we have as much as at least 1 million members, we couldn't get 150,000. I mean, that's an indictment on those who are at the helms of affairs, on those who claim to have registered such people. There are evidence to support my positions.
Aliu, thank you very much. Happily, Ahmed Sajo is here and Mazi is also here. We're going to allow Ahmed Sajo to respond to the issues that you have raised. But just by the way, in terms of the Anambra election, party membership doesn't necessarily equate to voter turnout. In the course of elections, Claire, we know that voter apathy is a major challenge for our general election. INEC can have, say, 100 million registered voters, but in the presidential elections, how many persons do actually come out to cast their vote? In the case of Anambra, I'm sure you are aware of the phenomenon of unknown gunmen. Amesajo.
Yeah, I think there are quite a number of sweeping generalizations, and there are certain information that are not exactly correct. I was a member of the party membership registration process for Oyo State. I participated very actively. As a matter of fact, the chairman of the committee in Oyo had some issues, so he left me as acting chairman, and I acted throughout. So I know really what took place. I'm a foundation member of the APC, So I had registered in the APC when it was formed, and I registered this time around. There are quite a few innovations in this present process that was not there in the 2014. That this registration, the registration number is unique to a member. This is something very, very unique. And I also want to say that the aggregation of the membership across the 36 states and the FCT had been concluded. And you know, in reality, the membership of the party is at the local level. It's not a national thing, as in you don't register as a member of the party nationally. You register in your ward. The records at the wards are there. The records at the local governments are there. The records at the states are there. The record at the national is just an improvement of what was there based on the new innovations included in the new registration form. So the registration process was absolutely quite commendable. The figures are okay. And like you said, membership of the party is not the same as voter turnout. Take Anambra, for example. The governor that was sworn in yesterday had something like 152,000 votes to become the governor. And the state population is about 5-point-something million. So you could understand that even if it is 1/3 of that figure that was registered voters, the voter apathy was quite apparent. And it happens not only in Nigeria, but everywhere in the world. Voter apathy is totally different from party membership. Now, what I want us to refocus our minds on is the fact that our politics generally, not just APC, no, but in the entire ecosystem, political ecosystem, our politics is increasingly becoming transactional.
It's always been.
We're looking at costs, quote and unquote, all the times. Sometimes even overlooking legal implications. So when there are arguments as to whether something could be more costly or less costly, sometimes it's good to look inward and see, okay, we can save cost, but can that also save us some legal minefields that we may have to step onto? And if we realize that the cost, the cost reduction is far more injurious with respect to legal expectations, it's always better to protect ourselves from legal minefields. So a lot of the arguments have to do with legal positions. Even when there was an attempt to say, caretaker go, caretaker come, or this man go, this man come, you saw how the legal angle played out to say, legally, this is the person that is there. So we must always be mindful of the legality of our actions. And I think that's where, at the end of the day, we will all be winners if we are able to scale the legal hurdles that face us as a party.
Ahmed, if you listen to our conversations, you would agree with me that there's still, dissenting voices. You're going to the convention still, with some dissenting voices, especially among, your youth arm. But be that as it may, I still want you to make some clarifications for us. Some members of the APC governors have actually been quoted to have described, members of the existing caretaker committee as Yahoo politicians. How do you explain that? How do you?
No, I think we must be very clear on some things. The statement by the governor of Ondo State did not describe members of the caretaker committee as Yahoo politicians. What the statement which is an unfortunate statement as far as I'm concerned, said was that they just rehashed what somebody said earlier, that there were Yahoo governors among our governors. And I think that was unnecessary, that was uncharitable, that was unfair. At the level of governors, they are peers. Whether I'm older than you, or I am wiser than you, or I'm more educated than you, and under the law, as governors, we are peers. We should refrain from addressing each other in terms that are unsavory. It's not the best. And I think that statement was not directed at members of the caretaker committee. No, it wasn't. Because, in the caretaker committee, how many governors are there? And the statement was talking to governors. So it wasn't like that. But what I am saying is that governors, as leaders of the subnational entities, who are closer to the people than even the president himself, should be able to take responsibility for peace and stability within the subnational entities. And that is the only way we can have peace and stability within the larger society.
All right. Thank you very much, Ahmed Sajo. I wanted to ask you this question but I'm going to throw it to Mazi, Peter Okorafor, and of course the others. You could wish to respond to it subsequently. You talked about avoiding legal minefields. And people want to do certain things, sometimes unmindful of those legal minefields. And the question that arises is this. Every association has its own bylaws. You have your constitution. What makes it somewhat so challenging to abide by the black letter of the constitution? To say this is what you should do, when you should do it, and by whom? Is it not when you try to circumvent what is written and what is adopted and deposited with the registrar, if you like, of political parties, in this case INEC, when you try to circumvent it, that crisis will blow up? But what is the challenge? Is it one arising from a contestation of the legacy parties, that is to say, the building blocks of the party? And if so, can they function by turning a blind eye to the law, which is their own making, namely the constitution of the party?
Well, actually, I have not so far observed any major flaw in implementing the party constitution so far. Because, to start with, the National Executive Committee has delegated powers to the Caretaker Committee, which they inherited from the Convention Committee as in our Constitution. So within the ambits of our Constitution, the caretaker have been discharging its duties. Well, there may seem underground current challenging their conducts and mode of operation. Does not mean that the Caretaker Committee itself is treading on illegality. They have been doing their things within the ranks of the law. All they are literally doing is managing the turbulence within their ambits. They have not taken the toll. Like he said, when people said Maimala was removed, he told them, no, Maimala is there. He's going to come back and sit. So the Caretaker Committee chairman is operating within the ambit of the law. So far, his centennials have not been by himself. The NEC has always given the prerogative for him to continue, or the committee to continue. So as a committee chairman, he has not traversed the provision of the Constitution nor the law. And of course, as expected, himself as a sitting chairman had already communicated INEC about the convention dates. He did. And he operated within the time frame expected. So the undercurrents are not a threat as such to the constitutional operation of the Caretaker Committee chairman, who onus relies on to be challenged on any misconduct, and not the membership within.
Well, I don't know, Ahmed Sajo, maybe you may wish to respond to this as well. Let's face it, there are legal minefields. The APC has faced a torrent of litigation Probably the APC dodged the bullet when the issue of the capacity of a serving governor to also be engaged in the governing of a political party came up in the courts. So what you talked about the legal minefields. How can this be avoided? Will the convention settle most of these issues so that you have a legally competent driver of the affairs of the political party?
Let's put it in context. The person there now, by the provisions of the Constitution, is adjudged to be legally responsible for the governance of the party. And so, to that extent, we do not have a vacuum in leadership. But again, looking at events that may happen based on previous challenges made to the position of the caretaker with respect to nominations of candidates, we would be avoiding a lot of these legal challenges if we are able to empanel a validly elected NWC at the convention. And that is where we are heading to have a convention where we would have a legally valid elected leadership of our party. And when that happens, this doubt as to whether one person could hold a position A and position B would have been removed. But to a large extent, I think the legal concerns are very valid based on precedents, in court judgments. But the legal concerns do not invalidate the position of the caretaker committee chairman or the caretaker itself. That is a settled matter. It's legal, and because the name is Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, as soon as they plan the convention, deliver on the convention, I think they have also done their job, and then we have a legally binding National Working Committee in place.
Okay, I have one question just before we go on a short break, and it's a general question. Will the convention actually hold Saturday, March the 26th? And my question is based on the issues raised by INEC about Section 82(1) of the new Electoral Act, which requires that it be given 21 days notice.
No, the notice had been given.
The notice was given prior to the 1st February 26th March. Did you give another notice? So let's start.
No. That notice is valid. At the time the caretaker committee gave INEC the notice for this convention, the new law had not been signed, and you do not operate law retroactively. They had fulfilled all the provisions of the law at the time they gave the notice. So that nobody should use the new law to.
But INEC has cited that in the letter which we hear was written to the APC.
What INEC is saying is that changing a leadership of a political party, any meeting you're going to hold to change the leadership requires 21 days.
Can I read something out for you?
Yes.
It says, this is a copy of the letter I'm reading, just from Premium Times. It says, furthermore, the APC is reminded of the provision in Section 82(1) of the Electoral Act 2022, which requires at least 21 days notice of any convention, congress, conference, or meeting convened for the purpose of merger, blah, blah, blah.
And changing leadership.
And the commission noted in the letter.
But read it very well. It says about changing leadership. So what they're saying is that
it says nominating candidates for any elective office.
Exactly. What INEC is talking about was in respect of the letter that was not signed by Buni and Udo Dehe. That when was a meeting held to remove them, which is a valid argument by INEC. There was no NEC meeting to say Buni has been removed, to say Udo Dehe has been removed. There was no, and if you're going to hold a NEC meeting to remove them for whatever reason you have, you have to notify INEC 21 days. But for the convention that is going to take place on the 26th of March, definitely the Buni committee had sent a letter more than 21 days before the convention.
Any contrary? Oh, sorry, Kingsley, go ahead.
Well, I mean, just the legal clarification is what Ahmed Sajo has provided, because your fundamental question is, does the March 26th date remain valid in light of what INEC has written? Yes. That the legal interpretation will be yes, it is so. Now, the effect of INEC's letter was to actually provide a cover for Buni and therefore quash the, if you like, the attempted coup to dislodge the Buni Caretaker Committee. We must study the way it is. That was a crisis in the party. You had persons who were now purporting, that's the legal language, to take over the governance of the party and then conduct the convention on the 26th or at any other date that they might have had in mind. So INEC had issued that warning, to say, about advisory rather, because if they did it would have been a nullity.
On that, call for a break.
Yes. On that note, we'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll continue with the conversation.
157-kilometer Lagos-Ibadan Railway is the first double-track standard gauge railway to be built in West Africa. The Mobolaji Johnson train station is a masterpiece, an infrastructure that is gradually becoming an iconic building in Lagos State. The modern facilities put the station on a world map of train stations. Likewise, other new train stations across the country built to world-class standards. The train and its convenience is indeed an admirable effort, with commendations from Nigerians.
This is a station that we have to commend the federal government for putting a beautiful face, empowering us in Lagos State, not only in economic and political arena.
I can say that I'm really impressed with the infrastructures in place. Kudos to the Minister of Transportation, kudos to the federal government.
Truly, good things are coming out of Nigeria, and the federal government is deserving of all the applause.
See, nurse, she's saying she feels unwell, despite my efforts to practice good hygiene.
Mom says wash your hands to keep the germs away.
Washing hands is good, but surfaces can also have germs, and you shouldn't use just anything for cleaning them. Use Jig. Jig's formula has been scientifically proven to stay active for longer, giving you whitening and germ kill protection on a variety of surfaces. Disinfect to protect, just Jig it. Endorsed by National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
The Gunners continue their push for Champions League action as they face a tricky tie at Villa Park. This Saturday is Aston Villa versus Arsenal on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 1 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu, empowered by Integral.
All right, just a minute,
yeah, it's because what? Yeah, because we're discussing issues of camera.
Let me welcome back the viewer. Sorry about that. It's been an interesting and heated conversation. You know, the APC convention is scheduled to hold March 26th, which is in less than a week's time. So we have our guests here.
It's a week and a day, not less than a week.
Well, 8 days. Well, a week and a day. That's 8 days.
That's right.
8 days time. Thank you, Kingsley.
Yeah.
So. Just before we went on break, I asked a question. Ahmed answered me. Aliu, I want you to also respond, and then we'll come to the very critical question that Kingsley just raised, that Mazi wanted to action, that we caught you on camera. Aliu, please take it off.
All right. My concern as to, I mean, the question is very valid in the sense that if my memory serves me correctly, the last communication from the caretaker committee signed by the secretary to INEC notifying INEC of the National Convention was on the February 5th, which was, 21 days to the, required 21 days to the 26th. Then again, there was another communication, where they had, that was after, they changed the date, because as at the time the 26th was picked, my group, APC Rebirth Movement, came out to say that the 26th was an arrangement by the caretaker committee. It was a pre-planned arrangement to not hold the convention on the 26th. And we gave our reasons, because we said that on the 26th, the INEC by INEC calendar, there were by-elections in 6 states that the APC was to take part in. We thought, it wasn't wise to fix a convention on a date when your party will be going through a general by-election. And we knew they knew. That was why they put it there, so that they have reasons to justify their shifting it forward again. Your concern now is, which is a concern I equally share, is that after they finally came out with their their plan to not hold the convention on the 26th, what they did was send a letter, which, I don't know if it was sent to INEC, but I saw a copy of it in the public, saying that they had arranged what they call zonal congress, that is alien to our constitution. There's no such thing as zonal congress in our constitution, in the APC constitution. They sent a letter saying that the zonal congress was set for 26th of March. We equally came out to say that there's no such thing as zonal congress in our constitution. And I can only hope, right now as we speak, I can only hope that truly another letter was communicated to INEC notifying them that the new date for our national convention is the 26th. And I can even hope that the letter was sent putting in consideration the 21 days mandatory requirement of any party going to hold an activity like the convention. These are the reasons that we have.
How do you respond to the reports that the zonal congress will take place on the same day as the national convention on the 26th? Because that's one of the latest accounts we had.
Now, the fact is there's no such thing as zonal congress in our constitution. What we have are national officers who are to represent the what's it called? The
zones.
Zonal zones. They are actually national officers. When you say zonal youth leader, it's not a zonal office, it's a national office of a zone. The zonal chairman is the national vice chairman for a particular zone. So from our constitution, all of these were supposed to, it was just a game plan by them to just stretch their days in office. I would say that always. They had plans to not leave. You were right about wanting them to carry convention, and that was their plan. They wanted to be in position to carry out all of the primaries for 2023. We've come out to say this publicly. That was the evil. That was one of the reasons I felt at least the leadership of the caretaker committee should have been relieved of their duties, especially the chairman and the secretary, for dragging the party through the mud. But I understand the limitation in terms of legality of doing that, just as communicated in INEC letter, that if we're going to make such changes, we probably will need to give the INEC about 21 days notice.
Requisite notice.
Exactly. So
Aliu, thanks. Let's look at another aspect, again, for the benefit of our viewers. There is a lot of name dropping. You will find, the president says this. The president has tapped Amesajo to be the chairman of the party. The president has tapped Mazi Peter to be the national secretary. The president has tapped Aliu Audu to be the national youth leader. We keep hearing a lot of name dropping from time to time. Somebody might argue, that's to be expected. But we also see the president intervening decisively where the boat is rocking in rapids. So How do you explain this, Mazi Peter? I mean, it's in the constitution of the party is the president supervening?
Not actually. It's quite unfortunate that these issues were not settled from the inception of APC, in the sense that the board of trustees were not properly constituted. Article 13.2 of our party constitution deposits the rights and the powers to manage conflict and crisis on the board of trustees. And because the founding fathers were a little bit sluggish in having that body properly constituted, the bulk of crisis management was now shifted to the president. It's not, I'm sure it's not what he wants, because he already has a lot of national issues on his table. It's a major distraction. And I am looking forward to a situation where, as we progress, maybe before or after this period, that the board of trustees of the party should be properly constituted with a presiding chairman and secretary, so that they can assume their constitutional role in the party. So it's not.
Well,
it's not.
There's
But the
a change
president
in that.
is deemed as the leader of the party.
Let me realize, not in our constitution.
No, but let's put that in perspective.
Yes.
I think the party had realized its errors with respect to the absence of the board of trustees. They've even proposed an amendment that is more far-reaching now, that the board of trustees will be replaced by an advisory board with defined powers, especially in respect of checking some excesses of the leadership of the party or the NWC itself. But the misnomer of an elected person as leader of the party was actually inherited from the party we took over power from. The PDP had that setup. It's not in their constitution, and we came, even though we came with the slogan of change, we did not change that. We retained it, and it's actually definitely a misnomer. It's not in the constitution, and it's also something that is negative to our political system, because when the party is the father of the elected official, and there is nowhere in this world that the son is the one that will be cautioning his father. What we know is the other way around. The father can caution the son. So we're looking at all of this. And if you look at the amendment proposed in the Constitution, so many of those things have now been captured. I don't know if those amendments will pull through the convention. But one of them is that when an official is elected under the banner of the party, he must report from time to time to the party on certain governance issues. And I think this is what is supposed to be. The party is supposed to guide. And because we have inadvertently and wrongly, unconstitutionally, let me put it this way, arrogated leadership of parties to elected officials of the party, that's why no elected officials just operate their own desires rather than the manifesto of the party. That's why you don't have two PDP governors doing the same thing or two APC governors doing the same thing. Everybody is doing it, and if you touch him, he is the leader of the party in the state. So he decides what he wants to do and what the party should be. I think we should correct that to a large extent, and also free our presidents from, paying more attention to partisan political matters rather than governance issues. Well, in fairness to the president, and I give it to him, he believes that everybody in a leadership position must be responsible. So sometimes he speaks to those people believing that they are responsible enough to understand what is available for public consumption and what is not. Because leadership is not everything the leader gets to know that should go to the public domain. Some of those things could cause panic. Some of them could cause crisis, chaos. So what leaders do is that when you have information that is confidential but is of effect to the people, you mitigate the negative effects. This is the feeling of the president. But some people, when they discuss with the president, they just go out and say, the president said. And that is where we have some of these crises. And I think going forward is one of the opportunities we are getting from this entire crisis, that we have to recalibrate the relationship between the party and its elected people.
But if I may cut in uninvited, not probing the mindset of the governor that referred to Yahoo. I didn't think his mindset was on the negative of fraudulency. I think he was referring to this name dropping electronically, President said, to be his concept of Yahoo, transmitting information electronically on what you call name dropping.
Yeah, okay. Well, Peter, thanks. We're not going to be an echo chamber for that pejorative appellation of what was said about some of the governors. That's not the point that we're talking about, but the essence of what you have said is noted. Aliu Audu, let's get your take on this, the whole idea of name dropping, and more particularly what appears to be a contentious issue of how the offices and where the offices should go to. I mean, we hear, for instance, national chairman has been zoned to the North Central, but any and everybody is picking up forms, even at the cost of 20 million naira, for a nomination form. Is this disrespectful of shall we say, boardroom agreements before you get out into the public space? Or now it becomes one to say, look, open competition?
Okay, before I answer the question, I would like to just touch a bit on what my, senior party faithfuls have said. I totally agree with them in the sense that, all of this, part of the issues we have are, it's just for the fact that we have certain members who have refused to let go of the, inherited impunity, sense of impunity from the previous government, which ruined the party that we took over from in every sense of it. And we have organs of the party by our constitution. So, this whole, I'm close to Mr. President, I can easily go to Mr. President and tell, all of those things are things we should not encourage, and we should not play by it or play to it. And on the case of zoning, when there are not punitive, measures, to erring members, you're not doing the right thing. You're not setting the standard for people to behave right, like I had said earlier. We sit, like democracy itself is a matter of agreement, rearrangement, shifting grounds, and coming to an agreement that fits all. I'll give credit to the zoning committee who came up with the zoning for the APC National Conventions, in the sense that I have gone through it, and I've gone through the reasons why certain positions are zoned to different zones, and I must say it's just one of the few things that my party has done that I feel very, very proud of. Like it puts into consideration justice, fairness, equity, and inclusion.
And please, you must round off your thoughts now.
Okay, so I do not think that any of those people who are going outside the agreement will be penalized, because there is no legal ground to do that. It is well within their constitutional right to do that. But I expect that the leadership of the party, moving whatever way they have to ensure that, generally agreed, zoning formula are adhered to in the National Convention.
All right, I'm sure, Kingsley, this is a topic we will return to, especially maybe
zoning
after.
Was scientific.
After the convention.
At some point, either before or after the convention. But Claire, I don't know. One issue, let me just throw this in. I know you're going to get sign of the guest now. The cost of the party nomination form is at 20 million naira. I didn't read somewhere where it said, is it non-refundable? So if that is not there, there's a possibility that if anyone loses out at the convention, you can then apply for a refund of your 20 million. Unless, of course, once it enters the account, it's closed.
It's not refundable.
Well, that is the, but I didn't see it in the publicized.
I just want to tell you
sorry, I didn't see the, so that when it was
I have to stop you. Aliu Audu, convener APC Rebel Movement. I'd like to appreciate your contributions.
Thank you
very much. We do hope to have you some other time when we return to this conversation. Ahmed Sajo, as always, former Commissioner of Information and Strategy at the Adamawa State. Thank you for giving us your perspective and insight into, of course, your workings. Mazi Peter Okorafo, who is, of course, the chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, the National Secretary, Coalition of APC support groups, and also a public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for joining us. And that's our conversation. Let's quickly go over to our sports desk for sports stories.
The soul of Chelsea Football Club could jump ahead quickly after Friday's deadline for bid submissions. New York merchant bank The Rain Group will whittle down a short list of preferred bidders following Friday's deadline to make an offer. The fast pace of Stamford Bridge's club sale means a short list is tight, even as 3 bids could be in place by early next week. A strong nucleus of bidders are ready to submit their proposals, and the clutch of those suitors strengthening their hands significantly amid yet more remarkable development on Thursday. Lord Sebastian Coe joined Sir Martin Broughton's bid, adding heavyweight credence to the former Liverpool chairman's candidacy to buy the Blues. In Formula 1, 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel has been ruled out of Sunday's sizzling opening Bahrain Grand Prix after testing positive for COVID-19. The Aston Martin driver will be replaced by Nico Hülkenberg. McLaren's Daniel Ricciardo missed the final test in Bahrain last week after contracting coronavirus. But the Australian is fit for race weekend, which begins with practice on Friday after returning a negative test. Aston Martin reserve driver Hülkenberg has not been a permanent F1 driver since 2019, but is fielding for others. The German made 3 appearances in 2020 when he replaced Sergio Perez and Lance Stroll, both of whom missed races because of coronavirus. The second race of the season is in Saudi Arabia on 27 March. If German Vettel tests negative before then, he should be able to compete.
Now let's take some entertainment stories.
Malian music star Zinaliski stormed Abuja over the weekend to party with his fans at a show tagged No Labels. The show, organized by an international beverage brand, was in commemoration of the 2022 Break the Bias theme of International Women's Day celebration.
So we are allowing people to express themselves however they want without being labeled based on what they look like.
Within the context of the theme, some of the female revelers shared their experiences with bias against women in the Nigerian society.
You have like an argument with a man, the next thing he says, shut up, you this prostitute. Why? You won't say that to a fellow man. I work in customer service. I've seen it.
Because I feel like this is a male work. So if a girl is doing it, you can't be straight. You have to be gay or something. My sister, for instance, do you understand? She had to quit her job because she had to take care of her children.
I had a business idea some time ago. And then I went to this very influential person and I told them about my idea. Do you know what he said to me? Go and get married. Why are you looking for money?
However, the manner the ladies brought down other women during the rap contest on stage was not lost on Ayola Madashiru, who says women need to put up a more united front in their fight against bias.
And it takes a lot of undoing and a lot of orientation to actually get them to break that bias, as it were. Because actually it's women that promote some of those biases that we see.
More details on the show later. Kemeni Williams with E-News.
All right, many thanks, Kemeni Williams, for the entertainment. And that's how it's been on Good Morning Nigeria for today and indeed for this week. It was an insightful edition, Kingsley, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
And we look forward to more maybe next week or after the convention. I am Claire Adilabu Abdurazak, and always remember to join us in the fight against rape and rapists.
I'm Kingsley Osadola, thanking you also for tuning in. The program Good Morning Nigeria returns on Monday, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye-bye.